Hey, everybody, I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland. And so somebody was knocking on my door, Aaron, and they asked me if I wanted to get laid. It wasn't quite what I expected, but, you know. Oh, that's just a terrible joke.
That was terrible, sir.
I apologize to anyone I offended or everyone that I offended. Actually, just my camera's a little cockeyed. All right, so here we are, Aaron. It's another show, an end to the week, a preview to tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a big deal going on. We'll talk about that a little further down the road. But how are you?
I'm actually doing pretty well myself, Frank. I hope that you are doing a little bit better soon. But
Me too.
Getting laid doesn't seem to have hurt you at all. So
no, not at all. It wasn't quite what I expected, but you know what? It's the most I can expect at this age. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to talk about, and we'll start with the first half, and we'll start with rugby, Canadian rugby.
Yeah. So for those who haven't been following it on the news, the Women's World Rugby Cup was played this past week. We didn't have a chance to mention it on Monday or Wednesday, unfortunately. I think we might have glossed over it briefly, but Canada was in the gold medal game against the Red Roses of England, and unfortunately came out on the wrong end of the score on that one, 33-13. That was in Twickenham, London on Saturday. Allianz Stadium there had 81,885 people. That is the largest crowd in women's rugby history, and was a showcase of England's power and pace. It was their third World Cup title after triumphs in 1994 and 2014. Now, what's particularly important in all of this is the fact that in their run-up to the World Cup finals, Canada actually beat the Black Ferns twice. That's the New Zealand rugby team. The captain of the New Zealand women's rugby team actually indicated that, in the past few years, they have actually been using Canada as their bellwether and their gold standard for this sort of thing, despite the fact that England won, just mainly because Canada's made the most progress. So great to see them playing in front of over 81,000 fans.
Too bad about the loss.
And they had to fundraise themselves in order to get there. They had to raise the money themselves because Rugby Canada wasn't funding them.
I think it might have something to do with affordability for them. I don't think they wouldn't if they could. I mean, this is the biggest event in rugby in the world for women's rugby. Now, I guess, anyway, let's move over to Major League Baseball. Everybody except the Dodgers were playing last night that had a chance. The 3 series went last night, and one of them was critical to Blue Jay fans. So let's start with that one and talk about the rookie. There seems to be a common theme in the major leagues right now. These rookies that are coming up, first time pitching in Major League Baseball, and they throw an amazing game. And that happened for the Yankees last night. And it just so happened it was a Massachusetts kid that beat them.
Yeah, that Cam Schlittler actually became the first pitcher, not a rookie.
What'd you say his name was?
Schlittler.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I heard that right.
Schlittler.
Oh, okay. I was hoping you fumble that one. Never mind. Go on.
In the history of the postseason, I made very sure that I didn't fumble that one. There are 2 separate, very bad words that are in that I don't want to mess up on. It's the first time in the history of the postseason to post 12 strikeouts, 0 walks, and 8 scoreless innings in an utter domination of the Red Sox. He was throwing triple-digit heat at the start of the game and still getting high 90s in his final inning of work. He managed to stay in through the 8th inning with a pitch count of 107. Yeah. This guy started in Double-A and made his major league debut back in July.
Not much different than Yesavage.
No, not much different than Yesavage, other than the fact that he's done something that Yesavage hasn't quite done yet.
Played in the playoffs.
Exactly. So. Now, that was the first part of it. They won 4-0. Cubs played the Padres. Unfortunately, the Padres offense kind of went dark when they played against the Cubs. Jamison Taillon, Caleb Tealbar, Denny Palencia, Drew Pomerantz, Brad Keller, and Andrew Kittredge combined to hold the Padres to a single run, with some help from one of the best defenses in Major League Baseball. Tigers beat the Guardians 6-3. The Tigers were definitely looking for this win just because they were one of the better teams at the start of the season and kind of fell off midway through. This was, I think, the redemption that they sort of needed to get themselves back into good graces with the fans. So we've got Detroit versus Seattle. We've got Los Angeles versus Philly. Then we've got the Tigers going up against sorry, I believe it's Milwaukee.
The Tigers? No.
Cleveland, sorry. Yeah, and then we've got the Jays and Yankees. So that's that is the what we've got currently. It's going to be interesting.
Oh, hang on. No, I'm wrong. It was the Cleveland lost to Detroit last night.
Right. Yeah, it was right? The Guardians lost the Tigers, yeah.
Yes. So the Tigers are in the playoffs.
Yeah. Anyway, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about the teams that played. It was not the teams. And then I understood after I opened my mouth, I realized you meant the ones that were playing in the next round. So Major League Baseball, Kevin Gausman looking to start first for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, they are looking to put him up. He's currently their most consistent pitcher. So he's getting the ball for game 1 of the ALDS. It's going to be at 4 p.m. on Sportsnet. This is going to dovetail with the Toronto Argonauts Hamilton Ticats game, which goes at 3 p.m. from BMO Field. Blue Jays manager confirmed the start time on Friday. Gausman last pitched on Sunday in the Blue Jays regular season finale, so he's on a fairly normal schedule right now. He was 10-11 with a 3.59 ERA this season, improved to a 2.78 ERA in 5 starts in September. Now, he is unfortunately 0-2 with a 4.91 ERA in 8 career playoff appearances, but the fact that he's been improving steadily over the course of the season and has been as consistent as he has is a good sign for the Jays.
Yeah, so traffic's going to be interesting in and around BMO.
Yeah, the other thing to take note of is
Budweiser stage. It's going to be interesting on a Saturday afternoon.
And King and Dufferin is a mess too. That's been completely torn up.
That's usually how I escape when I drive. But good news for me, David drives. So let's talk about the NBA. Sorry, and we're talking about a Raptors team. They're kind of a middling team, and maybe they're hoping to make some trades to try and elevate their possibilities this season.
Yeah. So last season they finished 30-52, 11th in the East, obviously missing the playoffs. Their offensive rating was a 109.6, which ranks them 26th in the league, and their defensive rating was 113.6, which ranks them 15th. In the offseason, they added Colin Murray-Boyles, Sandro Mumaklashvili. They got rid of Chris Boucher. They did get RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley from the New York Knicks for RJ Anunoby. Those two individuals, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, they've got a combined $269.5 million wrapped up with those, along with Barnes and Jacob Puggle, who are also owed a combined $306.3 million. This is a solid foundation. The problem is they've only managed to win 55 games in the past 2 seasons. So they're building towards being in the middle of the pack at this point. Because they've got so much tied up and because of the cap system and the way that everything works in the NBA, that puts them in the middle of everything. Best case scenario, Ingram remains healthy and drives the offense for the bottom of the rankings. Barnes' development pushes the roster further forward, and everyone starts to believe in the ability. Grady Dick improves in his 3rd season, and this year's first-round draft pick, Colin Murray-Boyles, is a revelation. This is what they need to work towards. Hopefully the Raptors compete for a playoff spot and fans can believe in the future of this team again. If everything falls apart and Barnes' development continues to stagnate and Ingram's impact is not what they see, we may end up seeing a fire sale. So at this point here, though, a lot of pundits are saying that you should bet the over/under on wins this season. The over/under point being 39.5. So we'll have to see how well they do.
They'll do better than that.
Oh, 100%. They should.
They won't be able to do better than that if they get, again, snake bit with lots of injuries. Let's move over to tennis, and let's talk about the Shanghai Masters, and Gabriel Diallo is carrying the Canadian flag.
Yeah, he's advanced to the 3rd round of the Shanghai Masters. He beat France's Benjamin Bonzi 6-4, 6-4 in second round action. He fired 4 aces with 2 double faults and converted 2 of 4 breakpoint opportunities in the match. Bonzi had 7 aces to 2 double faults and went without a single breakpoint chance. He now gets a bye into the second round as the Diallo, gets a bye into the second round as the 31st seed in the tournament. He's going to play David Gausman of Belgium. Montreal's Felix Auger-Aliassime, the 12th seed in the tournament, is set to take on Chile's Alejandro Tabillo in the second round. Denis Shapovalov of Richmond Hill, the 23rd seed, will be facing Australia's Christopher O'Connell, with his eyes set on advancing to the third round. So we are currently sitting tidy at this point.
Absolutely. With golf now, you've got players that are playing for next season. We have our first Canadian entering that getting level.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't heard, Drew Nesbitt made the jump from the third tier PGA Tour Americas to the second tier Corn Ferry Tour at last week's Fortinet Cup Championship. Nesbitt tied for 43rd in the season finale to maintain a top 10 ranking in order to earn promotion. Now, he plays out of Hockley Valley. He finished this year with 3 top 5 finishes, including a win at the Times Colonist Victoria Open in September. It's important for players to keep plugging away in the lower leagues as they have been. Vancouver's Leah Johns and Brooke Rivers of Brampton are both within striking distance of earning their LPGA Tour cards this week when they tee it up at the Epson Tour Championship. So there are other possibilities for other Canadians to move up.
Absolutely, and I look forward to it. Let's talk about the Canadian Football League, and I'd like to mention at this time, David and I will be going to the Grey Cup again. We have been invited by the Canadian Football League to take part, so we are going to take part and enjoy the week of festivities that is the Grey Cup and the Grey Cup Festival. Well, what do we need to know ahead of Week 18? We need to know that the Argos can be eliminated mathematically.
Mathematically speaking, this is the do or die weekend. Trevor Harris is going to be playing. He's 9-5 against his former team. He needs 244 passing yards for his 5th career 4,000-yard campaign. Kevin Middle has 15 receptions in 2 games against Hamilton. Kenny Lawler has 15 catches, 330 yards, and 5 TDs against Toronto. He'll be one to watch for sure. The Lions are currently on a 3-game winning streak thanks to beating the Argonauts last week, while Calgary has lost 3 in a row. So 2 teams headed in opposite directions. Keon Hatcher Sr. with 1,404 and Justin McInnes with 1,054 have combined for 2,458 receiving yards. The franchise mark for a duo is held by Ray Alexander and Matt Clark, who totaled 3,135 in 1991. As it currently stands, the completion percentage for the CFL this year is 69.7%. The passer rating is 99.3%, and the percentage of drives resulting in TDs at 18.3% is currently the highest scoring in CFL history. Balancing this against the knowledge that there are going to be changes that are made in 2026 and 2027 to league scoring, it'll be interesting to see how this changes. We've got Saskatchewan 10-4 at Ottawa 4-10. 2 teams currently on opposite sides of it. The last time they played, Ottawa lost to Saskatchewan in week 1, 31-26. Hamilton 9-6 and Toronto 5-10. As it currently stands, the series is tied 1-1. Hamilton beat Toronto 51-38 back in week 5, but Toronto beat Hamilton 35-33 back on week 13. Rounding out the rest of the schedule, we've got Calgary at 8-6 versus BC at 8-7. The last time these 2 teams met, BC beat Calgary 52-23. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of this turns out. I don't know if you've heard anything about whether or not Kelly will be making a return to the lineup, but
doesn't look like it now.
I was going to say week 18 is supposed to be the week he was supposed to be back. So.
Doesn't look like it. They're not going to risk it now. Well, put it this way. If they make the playoffs, maybe.
Well, and I don't know if dropping him in cold for the first game of the playoffs is going to be a good idea.
I'm just being facetious. I'm trying to be funny again, like I was at the beginning of the show, and that landed just as well as my lays did. So talk about the Paralympic World Championships. Katie Pegg, she won a bronze in the shot put.
Yeah. She's 21 years old from Markham, Ontario. She took bronze in the women's F46 event with a throw of 12.76 meters, earning Canada its first medal in a field event in New Delhi. In addition to that, Stewart on the male side also won gold at the Para Worlds with a 16.68 meter throw. So Canada is being served in good stead right now. Canada also has 3 bronze medals so far in New Delhi, heading into the final 3 days of the World Championships. Amanda Rummery of Sherwood Park just missed adding to Canada's medal total with a 4th place finish in the women's 400 meters. Jesse Zesu was 6th in the men's discus. Zesu won silver in the event in the 2023 Para Pan Am Games. He's also going to be competing in long jump today. And in wheelchair racing, Nandini Sharma was 8th in the women's 100 meters. So our athletes are doing well. Not as many medals, but still rocking it out.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the IHF and what they're doing in women's hockey.
So the International Ice Hockey Federation is moving the Women's World Hockey Championships to November in 2026. It's going to be in Denmark. The shift from spring to fall beginning next year comes after the IIHF was in talks with the PWHL about scheduling. The PWHL is beginning its 3rd season on November 21st and will play through April 25th, with the playoffs to follow after that. The whole idea with moving the IIHF championships to November in Denmark is to use it as a preseason tournament for the PWHL as a lead-in. This is ideal for participating players. The PWHL will have the opportunity to adjust their start dates as a result, rather than taking a 3-week break in April and allowing them to continue to service their fans and get the game out across North America. The only drawback to a November World Championship is the potential effect it could have on women's college hockey. But that's another hurdle that they'll have to work around with the NCAA and Canadian sports.
I don't know why the women's hockey can't take a pause, but that's just a question, and I'm not it's not a criticism. Let's talk about the NHL, and let's start with the Habs, and let's talk about Bolduc.
So as it currently stands, unfortunately, the Habs have been getting their trash rocked these past few days with injuries. Zach Bolduc is now day-to-day with a lower body injury. The 22-year-old from Trois-Rivières has 19 goals and 17 assists in 72 games with the Blues last season. 7 of his goals came on the power play. He was selected 17th by St. Louis in the 2021 draft. He came to the Canadiens in July with a trade with the Blues for defenseman Logan Mailloux. So that's another guy that's been put on the shelf for the Habs. Not to mention the other 2 players they lost in the game against the Leafs and their defenseman with a broken hand. Sucks.
Absolutely. Are the Senators tough enough?
You'd like to think so, but based on their 5-0 loss on Tuesday in Quebec City, this is an area that Steve Staios and a couple others are going to have to address before opening night. They've got until 5 o'clock on Monday to address that issue. Based on the number of fights and the way that they got pushed around in that game, the perception is that they may not necessarily be as tough as they need to be. Now, the Sens didn't have Brady Tkachuk in the lineup against Montreal. But if he had been playing, maybe Arbor and Florian Jacki wouldn't have been able to run around on the Sens as much as they did. But that's the problem. If he's out, who's left to pick up the slack, right?
Absolutely. So more Senators changes are being broadcasted.
Yes. For those familiar with the broadcast team, Mark Mathod is currently out at TSN because of changes at the Bell Media-owned TSN network. Unfortunately, Mark Mathod is no longer going to be appearing on TSN's regional broadcast. As it currently stands, for the live regional coverage of the Sens, it's going to be Miller, Kenzie Lalonde, and Matt Cullen to deliver the call, alongside game analyst Jamie McLennan. Claire Hanna is going to be hosting live panel coverage with a rotating crew of analysts, including Cheryl Panther, Toronto's Frankie Corrado, Mike Johnson, Mark Denis, and former Senators head coach Paul McLean. Because TSN says that their broadcast team is evolving, it does seem at this point here that Mark Mathod is not going to be a part of it for the time being. We'll have to keep an eye on where else he pops up.
That's what he wants to do. Let's talk about the Winnipeg Jets and valuation near doubles in last 4 years, says recent reports. The same one that said the Leafs are number one.
Yeah, coincidentally. For the longest time, Winnipeg has been considered one of the smaller market teams. But as it currently stands now, they're actually one of the NHL's most valuable franchises. They're now valued at an estimated $1.33 billion, which marks a sharp increase from the $1.1 billion they were valued at in 2024. They surpassed the Cincinnati Reds, the Kansas City Royals, and Tampa Bay Rays. They also outpaced clubs like Inter Miami, Italy's Inter Milan, and England's West Ham United as some of the more valuable sports franchises.
Yikes!
Yeah, it's leaps forward, and I think a lot of it is due to the loyalty that they show to their players and the loyalty that the fans have for them,
and the success the team has had.
Oh, for sure, and a lot of it started.
Had the ultimate success, but they've knocked on the door and kept fans, interest up.
I mean, they were initially valued at $745 million in 2021. The fact that they've come this far in as few years as they have is a huge indicator of the value that this team has, not only for their local market, but for their investors as well.
Yeah, and they're a very loyal team, and their signings have been something that has projected them to maybe winning a cup, right?
For sure. Now they have a thing that they do every year. Every good team should do this. Rick Bowness started calling players or asking around for their summer wish list. The answer that he got back apparently was universal. They didn't necessarily want a high-scoring winger or a puck-moving defenseman or more grit on the back end. Instead, a lot of the players asked for loyalty. We just want players here, he said, Rick Bowness, that want to be Winnipeg Jets. Pierre-Luc Dubois was shipped to LA for a package that included Gabe Vilardi, Alex Iafallo, and Rasmus Kupari. Blake Wheeler.
Worked out well.
Oh, it worked out fantastically for them. Not so much for PLD, but Blake Wheeler got bought out with Scheifele and Connor Hellebuck both entering the final seasons of their contract. It was assumed that the Jets would move on from one or both rather than lose them to free agency. But, all the while, teams were lining up to prepare offers for those two. But, they both ended up signing there, each carrying a pretty reasonable $8.5 million cap hit. I think for a lot of these players, having people that you want to play with and that want to play with you is more important than necessarily the bigger paycheck. So
absolutely,
it'll serve them in good stead.
Staying in the NHL, but moving over to another Canadian city, the Calgary Flames are depending a lot on their 24-year-old goaltender, Dustin Wolf, aren't they?
They definitely are. The last Flames goalie with more than 65 starts in a regular season was Mika Kiprasov in 2011 and 2012. He had 68 games. Markstrom started 63 games in 21-22. Dustin Wolf has said, I've been the one to play a lot of hockey. I played a ton in the WHL and a lot in the AHL. It's certainly nothing new for me now. Certainly the NHL is a different beast in regards to being more physically demanding, and the travel in the game schedule is every other day. But nothing changes in terms of how you prepare. He's currently tied for the league lead in assists by a goalie with 3. He had a .919 save percentage, and he's ranked in the top 5 amongst goalies with 50 or more starts. So, at 6 foot 170, he may need to bulk up a little bit, but he's fully intending to start at least 60 games this season. So they're going to be leaning on him pretty heavily.
Absolutely. And they can, as they should. He's a very important reason why this team has been successful. Let's talk about Devin Cooley staying with the Flames and the National Hockey League.
Yeah, this was a bit of a surprise for a lot of people. He's 28 years old. He's actually only played 6 career NHL games. This is the first time that he's claimed an opening night gig. He's going to start the season as a Flames second string goaltender behind Dustin Wolf. Prosvetov was put on waivers on Thursday so that he can be shipped to the Calgary Wranglers. This is definitely something that's new for him, but also not something that's entirely unexpected. He's put in the work in the lower leagues, and I think he's ready to take that next step. And I think the Flames recognize that as well.
Absolutely. Staying again with the Flames, a contract extension for the head coach, Ryan Huska, puts him in the center of what will happen in the near future.
Well, he didn't exactly have an easy time of it when he took over as head coach in 23-24. He was burdened by veterans who had no intention of sticking around whatsoever. Today, however, the team's a lot younger, and there's more younger players in the pipeline. Not to mention the fact that their core group is Connor Zary, Kevin Ball, Matt Coronado, and Dustin Wolf. Those are all guys you can literally build a franchise around. According to Huska, you're going to see players like Zane Parekh and Matt Vigridin find a way to earn their ice time. Those are the guys that are eventually going to be taking over from the people who have set the standard. They also, believe it or not, intend to try to get younger than they already have been, which is going to be interesting to see. We're going to see a lot of guys coming up from the Wranglers on a more frequent basis, which should make the Flames more exciting to watch.
Yeah, let's talk about the opposite. They're veterans, and one of them, Huberdeau, is day to day.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's been listed as day to day after leaving the game on Wednesday against the Canucks. He crashed into Kevin Lankinen and unfortunately did not come back. He also wasn't on the ice for the team's practice on Thursday morning. Conroy said he's going to be evaluated this morning, but I haven't heard any news as to what's exactly happened with that. With just a week until the season starts now, this is definitely a concern. He is, after all, a player who finished second in points on the Flames. They were a team that struggled to produce offense last season. So Hubie scoring 28 goals and adding 34 assists is a huge chunk that would be hard for them to make up.
Another NHL coach in Alberta is re-upped, of course, Chris Knobloch of the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah, and he's got a slightly longer extension. He's going to be around until the 28-29 season. He's guided the Oilers to consecutive Stanley Cup finals since he replaced Jay Woodcroft back in November 2023. After a 3-9-1 start, they went 48-16-5 with Knobloch before reaching the finals, losing to the Panthers. He also then posted a 48-29-5 record last season. They went 12-4 through 3 playoff rounds, but again lost to Florida in the finals, this time in 6 games. A little bit of a drop off from last year, but by the same token, making it back to the finals 2 years in a row is a definite sign that Knobloch's doing something right.
Absolutely. The Oilers, they lost to the Kraken 4-2.
Yeah, unfortunately, their special teams kind of let them down in this one. Darnell Nurse and Matt Savoie had the goals for Edmonton, while Isaac Howard collected 2 assists. But the difference came down to power plays. Now, both clubs had plenty of chances on the man advantage. Seattle got 6 power plays. Edmonton had 5. The Kraken scored twice on the power play and added a shorthanded goal. Edmonton, however, only managed 1 goal in the man advantage, a power play goal from Nurse midway through the first period. Knobloch did say that they were the determining factor, so it's something they're going to have to work on. Another issue for them is Alec Regula. He's one of the more intriguing developments from Oilers camp. He logged 19 minutes and 23 seconds of ice time, including 3:06 shorthanded. That was more than Troy Stetcher. He's making a case to stick around. He's only 25. He's 6'4". He knows how to position his body effectively in front of the net. He plays a simple, reliable game, but that makes it difficult for the Oilers on the back end. So it'd be interesting to see.
Absolutely. The Oilers are still the class of the Pacific Division. They are the team in that division that everybody's chasing. Before you comment on that, all this news, the coach signed, the projections that they're still going to be a powerhouse. Do you see it through the lens of Connor McDavid? All these little facts, are they colorized by the fact that Connor McDavid's already said he's going to sign depending on what he sees, what's ahead with the way the Edmonton Oilers are built?
I certainly think a lot of players are putting in their best effort to try to make sure that Connor stays around. If I think a lot of them don't want to be pointed out or labeled as the reason Connor left. So this definitely makes things interesting for them. Certainly after adding Mitch Marner to a core that's already won a Stanley Cup title, Vegas is making a strong case to being up there. This is Anze Kopitar's last season for the Los Angeles Kings. That definitely puts a different flavor on it as well. And the Anaheim Ducks, with their new coach, Joel Quenneville, certainly look to be changing things up as well. Mason McTavish, newly resigned there, certainly thinks that Quenneville will be the one to help them get to the next level. Now, Vegas did finish on top of the Pacific last season with 5 more points than LA and 9 more than Edmonton. Getting Marner in a sign and trade from Toronto certainly makes the point that they're going to be up there. But with all the drama that's swirling around Edmonton right now, they still look to be the team to beat.
Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Well, there've been some. We could talk about it with the Leafs, if I bother to remember. There are some reports about Marner and how he fit into the locker room, the dressing room. But let's move on from that and go to the Canucks. When we talk about the Leafs, we'll talk about Marner for the last time, or the second last time, or the third last time, or the fourth last time, or just admit we're going to keep talking them until 2028. The Canucks, they lit up the Saddle Dome. We all know that's the home of the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, they potted 8 goals, 8-1, a 5th preseason game of 2025. Brock Besser, Elias Pettersson, Tyler Myers, Derek Forbort, Max Sasson, Aatu Ratti, and Quinn Hughes scored for the Canucks. Kevin Lankinen started the game for Vancouver, stopping 29 of the 30 shots that he faced. Now, despite trailing in shots at the halfway point of the first period, they finished the first period with 4 goals, including 1 on the power play and 1 on the penalty kill. The most relieving one to watch, I think, was seeing Elias Pettersson score. It's one of the things that's been missing from his game for the past season and a bit. Now, this is the first time that the power play unit of Besser, Pettersson, Connor Garland, Jake DeBrusk, and Quinn Hughes played together during the preseason. They already look like they could be a thing. Drew O'Connor had a couple really good shorthanded breaks that didn't end up converting, but still looked promising. But again, a lot of the focus was on the younger players that are looking to make it into Vancouver's lineup. In particular, we're looking at Victor Mancini, who's skating along with Forbort. He played a second highest 541 shorthanded minutes and blocked 3 shots. Another player who stepped in this game was Aatu Ratti. He's expected to claim Vancouver's first spot down the middle of the lineup. He won all 6 faceoffs taken in the second period and dinged one off the post before finally scoring one. So things are definitely looking up. With their first shorthanded goal of the season, that's a positive sign for that. And this is the first time since February 19th, 2024, that they put 7 goals up in one game, and their first 7-goal win since December of 2023.
There you go. They also placed Kravtsov on waivers.
Yeah, they're trying to pare everything down. Obviously, the deadline for lineups is 5 p.m. on Monday. Vitaly Kravtsov was placed on waivers. They've also sent Joseph Lebate down to the AHL after he cleared waivers on Monday. If Kravtsov clears waivers, odds are he's going to be sent down to the Abbotsford Canucks.
Fully healthy Thatcher Demko embracing greater leadership role with the Canucks.
Yeah, last year he was the most important Vancouver Canuck, not named Quinn Hughes. He still lost deep in injury uncertainty. Now, however, he is fully healthy and fully empowered by new head coach Adam Foote to take a greater role in leadership. Demko starts the Canucks' final preseason game Friday against the Oilers, and feels ready to help lead the team into what players plan on making a redemptive season after the upheaval that they had last year. Vancouver is certainly one of those teams that's currently in the middle of evolution and change. Demko himself said, I felt like I've checked a lot of the boxes that I need to in the practices. Once you get into the games, there's things that feel a little foreign as you're still kind of shaking off the rust. He hasn't played a preseason game in 2 years. It's different hockey, obviously, for the preseason, and it's going to be even different, even from a week from now. So it's been good for him to just get into the games and get a little peace of mind out of the whole deal.
Let's see. Have you been to Stolar's yet?
No.
Okay, well, we'll go to Stolar's.
All right.
And Stoli, the goalie, didn't look impressive in his first showing, and in the third period did not look as impressive as he has been in the third period. Now, that goes, it's not the end of the world for him. I think the biggest disappointment was the Leaf defense, the penalties they took, and put him in a position where he was literally bombarded a little bit. Over 40 shots. That's a lot. The DNA of the Leafs was exposed, the DNA that they're trying to leave behind. That's the DNA where they take a lead and give it up. That's something that they did that we would expect them to learn not to do. Good defense and understanding how to use the lead against the opposition. They didn't do it in that game. And Aaron, I think the goalie took the brunt. It was only 3-1. That the Leafs didn't score.
No, I mean, it was 2 minutes into the game when Matthews finally found the back of the net against Cam Talbot. But the problem that we have here is they only put 19 shots on Cam Talbot, and if you're only getting one goal on 19 shots, that's not going to be enough. The fact that all 3 goals came in the third period is indicative of, again, as you mentioned, a lot of what plagued the Leafs. And that's get a lead and hang on and hang on and hang on as long as you possibly can.
No counter punch.
No, there was absolutely no counter punch whatsoever. Dylan Larkin got Detroit on the board, 5:04 into the third. DeBrincat got the go-ahead goal with 7:32 remaining, and then Emmett Finney sealed it with an empty netter. They're going to be playing Detroit again on Saturday, and then they'll be playing against the Habs on Wednesday night,
which is the game that matters.
Yeah,
everything exactly. They're doing now is to get that game, get it right by then. So we'll see. It's a tough situation for the Leafs. They have to live with that. That albatross around their neck is the departure of Marner. In a game like yesterday, a lot of people can start, they missed Marner. See, they only had 1 goal. Anyway, a young player who has a lot of talent, Easton McCowan. I still think it's early for him to be a full-time member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I really think he should go to the Marlies, but they're smarter than I am. Taller foreheads than me are going to figure things out. What do you think?
Speaking personally, it's difficult because I want to see him in the NHL sooner rather than later. But at the same time, I got Marlies tickets, so I'll be just as happy to watch him play in the AHL for the time being. A lot of people had him penciled in to start the game with the Marlies rather than start the season, with the Marlies instead of being up in the NHL. But after logging 12:23 of ice time last night, which was more than Dakota Joshua, Scott Lawton, and Stephen Lawrence, it's difficult for him to find his rhythm with a game filled with special teams, particularly the penalty kill. There were strong points to his game. He did block a shot in the first period. He also teamed up briefly with Domi and Michelli for a scoring chance in the second period. He did say he liked his game and said he thought he created a couple of chances, but he did have a bit of a turnover. Now, it didn't result in anything, but it was definitely something he was kicking himself for. Personally, like I said, I'd rather he get the seasoning that he needs in the AHL as opposed to starting with the big club. It would serve his development so much better.
Get being a pro.
Yeah.
Right? Get playing with bigger and faster players. Get what you said, get your skills in order. I don't think, I guess, unfortunately, they put Kampf on waivers, and I didn't see anybody pick Kampf up. It's a fair size contract for any team to pick up, so they're not going to get lucky enough that someone's going to take him off the waiver wire. They might take him off in the middle of the season if he's there in the middle of the season when a team gets injuries and they need penalty killing help. But under these circumstances at the beginning of the year, like the Leafs are doing, they're trying a new penalty killing group. Well, a twosome a new twosome. So we still have Matthews and Nyes there now. They want to use them for penalty killing. I'm not a big fan of that, but I guess if that's what you want to do, that's what you can do. You can use your offensive asset defensively if you want. Okay. If Matthews and more of Nyes is a good asset in penalty killing, Aaron, because he's usually really good on the breakaway. He wasn't against Detroit though. That looked terrible.
No. He did not look good last night. It was
not with that breakaway anyway, for sure.
No.
That breakaway did not look. Well, hopefully he doesn't feel the pressure of a new contract wrapped around his neck. And he tightens his stick because he expects more of himself, which is understandable. But that's where the team has to come in, preparing him not only physically but mentally to be a full-time NHLer, and an NHLer with a new contract that says we're counting on you, and give him the latitude and the opportunity to be successful with that contract. So we'll see how he goes. Scott Lawton is week to week. He's out, lower body injury.
Yep, this is something that's tough for them. He played just over 11 minutes in yesterday's game. He scored twice and added an assist in 20 regular season games last year. But unfortunately, he has been listed as week to week with a lower body injury. They announced that this morning. He had 2 goals and 2 assists in 3 exhibition games. With the league ready to start, with the season ready to start next week, it's unlikely he's going to be back for that. It's one of those tough situations for the Leafs, but it also makes you glad at the same time they picked up all of those extra pieces. Hopefully, Kampf passes through waivers, and if they need to bring somebody back up again, they definitely can. Also put on waivers yesterday for the Leafs was William Villeneuve. He'll be going back down to the Marlies. I don't think it's likely that anybody picks him up. So we'll see how this goes. We'll definitely keep an eye on that situation for sure.
Yeah, and he's the kind of guy that I think could help them in the future on the power play. He's a guy that can do that, and it's best for him. The same reason I think we agree that Easton Cowan should go to the Marlies is the reason why it's best for Villeneuve to be at the Marlies, because then he can play. Young players need to play. They don't do anybody any good sitting watching, from the bird's eye view, right? It's great. You can see how the game's played, but they need to get on the ice and they need to establish their game and feel the game, because there's a lot to being on the ice and playing on the ice that causes you to learn. Yes, you make mistakes, but there's your opportunity to learn. Austin Matthews, the Leafs, because of Marner's disappearance, are depending on him, but not putting pressure on him to score goals. They say, we're hearing they're not worried about him scoring. Well, I don't believe them. I won't say that they're worried. I'll frame it differently. They need 50, 60 from him, especially now that Marner's gone, to bring up, the unmentionable.
Well, he was dealing with an undisclosed ailment throughout last season. Which obviously included the mid-season flight to Munich to receive treatment. With 33 goals in 67 games, he also added 3 goals in 13 playoff games. The important thing to remember here as well is, even though his scoring was down, while he wasn't finding the back of the net, He had 78 points in 67 games and was strong on the back end and defense as well, which is something that they need him to do. But after a full summer of relaxing and training, both Matthews and the Leafs, I think, are slightly less concerned now with issues regarding his health. Admittedly, it was an off year. There were things that were going on behind the scenes. He wasn't fully healthy. But, you know, as the Leafs headed to Gravenhurst for a team bonding trip, you know, they're going to ice a lineup on Thursday. They did ice a lineup on Thursday that was very close to what their opening lineup could look like. He didn't look out of place. He didn't necessarily look uncomfortable. He also didn't necessarily look happy with the way that the Leafs performed. But, you know, based on the fact they were on the wrong end of a 3-1 score, I can thoroughly understand that. Berube doesn't seem to be worried as well. He's pretty much convinced that Matthews is over the issues that gave him problems last year. So we'll see how that looks going forward.
So news out of the locker room, the Leaf locker room from last year, there's some information floating out there that Marner wasn't exactly the favorite player in the dressing room.
I can't imagine why. I get it. He's used to being treated with kid gloves. You know, he had his spot on City TV. You know, he's been the golden child for almost every single team that he's played for, and expects a certain amount of treatment.
Well, you know, when they put words to the time that he yelled at the team at the end of the last year's playoffs, and he yelled at them, "Somebody hit somebody, hit somebody." He's going to preach to people about making contact with players. Do you know how that lands when somebody in his position and the way he plays says that to a teammate? I don't know. And I always go back to that thing with the old coach and the Amazon special where the coach rode Marner. And then I go to the final thing I'm going to mention about this. We've seen over the years how Marner has not been defended. You know, we saw a lot of crazy stuff that happened against Florida in that second series. Things that happened to Marner, and there was no reaction by any of the Leaf players. You know, things start to fall into place. Dots can be connected, and he wasn't being defended. And if he was the kind of guy that the guys didn't like in the locker room, that's the first sign that they didn't like him. You know, that they didn't defend him. So, you know, that's a thing about hockey that, you know, when people talk about chemistry, that's what chemistry is. Chemistry is how well the players get along and how willing they are to go to war for each other. We've heard the main reason why the Jays have finished first, if I can go back to the Jays for a second, is because the players like playing for each other. At least that's what the manager's saying. They go to war for each other. They don't care if they're sitting out. They're gonna let the other guy be the hero for that moment, but they're going to be ready for their turn. That's what makes a team, and that's good team chemistry. When you have certain players sucking all the oxygen, you know, out of the locker room, or you know, it doesn't bode well as a team for a team. So yeah. So if there's any truth in that, that's why that term addition by subtraction. A player can be really important to a team, but we really never know how the chemical balance is or how he fits in or fits out of the team.
No, and you know, the fact that he vetoed a bunch of trades in the tail end of last season leading up to the trade deadline, and that he was always looking for that ideal situation in Vegas, his teammates would know that. You know, and that can poison a locker room.
Well, he talked to them about it.
Yeah.
That came out in the end there. He was talking to a couple of Leafs that were with Vegas, and he asked them questions.
And it's one of those things that will absolutely kill the chemistry in a locker room and absolutely can potentially destroy a team. You know, it's not something that you need one of your star players to be doing, especially when you're in the middle of attempting to get into the playoffs. You know, that's
it would be great if the Leafs could trade Matthews for Connor McDavid, send him there and bring, like, I like the Leafs better with a Connor McDavid than I do a Matthews. If that was possible, that would be great. A Toronto kid that understands, and this is the other thing. The disservice that Marner did, the way he was talking about Leaf fans. At the end of the day, Aaron, the truth is, it's not an independent attitude that fans have with a player or players have with the fans. It's not an independent attitude. It isn't created out of a vacuum. It's created out of, people pick up on stuff, and people pick up on the smallest things. They could be wrong picking up on them, or they could be right. In my opinion, Marner was unhappy being a Maple Leaf, and the Leaf fans knew it. And they knew he wasn't planning on playing for the team. He rejected the trades that, like you said, and it wasn't to stay a Maple Leaf. It was to play out the string, hoping that he could win a cup with Toronto. I really think he loved playing in Toronto, but not the way he was treated. If he could have won a Stanley Cup last year, if the Leafs could have got past Florida, and if Florida was that good, and that means the rest of the teams weren't, and he would have made it to a Stanley Cup, everything that went wrong with him and Toronto would have gone away for both parties, not just him, for both parties. But it wasn't meant to be. And I think that's why he was so frustrated, where he was.
I certainly think that's a larger part of it than people let on. I think it's a larger consideration.
Don't doubt that he wanted to win in Toronto.
Oh, 100%.
Nobody should ever doubt that. But, just because you want to doesn't mean you will. Just like I don't doubt most ownerships in sports. I don't doubt most of them want to win. They all want to win. The question always comes out, and that is, the answer is, do they know how to win? And ultimately, that's the bottom line. That's the issue. Look at the New York Mets. They were like 45-24, and they didn't make the playoffs. They didn't make a wild card, at least. Yeah, so that it's important. Last word to you, my friend.
We're getting very, very close to the start of the season. You and I both know we are this close to letting a group of men playing a children's sport affect our mental health and our mental stability again. But like I mentioned last time, take a deep breath, go out and take a walk, smell some flowers. Everything will be better.
Sure.
Anybody
else buy that crap? Anybody else buy that crap? All that matters. I said you had the last word. I lied. So I'm going to have a second last word. All that Leaf fans care about is winning. This flower stuff doesn't work, Aaron. They just want to win. They want their team to win. They want to go celebrate. That's what they want. Oh, they can feel it sometimes. They can taste it sometimes. And then they lick the opportunity and it stinks. It tastes terrible.
At the end of the day, man, we can only do what we can do. We can only control what we control. I am not going to lose any sleep over it this season. I refuse to let it make me lose sleep this season.
I'm Candid Frank. He's Aaron William Freeland. You can follow us on YouTube, and that's Candid Frank Stanishi 1030 on YouTube. Hope you follow us and check out all the stuff we do. Thanks for watching.